Howdy folks, Chuck Schiele here with Making Music Magazine, and we're here again today with another artist feature. And today we're with Mr. Alan Silverman, who is a mastering engineer extraordinaire with Grammy credits from and involvements with everybody from Keith Richards and AC/DC to Judy Collins and the Afro-Latin, was that jazz ensemble? Afro-Latin Jazz Orchestra, and all points in between. You have a very healthy career and quite a list of performers that you've worked with. How's that all going? Tell us a little bit about that.
I have been incredibly fortunate with the artists that have come to know me, that I've come to know, and we've generated relationships that last years and years. I am so gifted with good fortune with these artists. It's all about the artist in this craft. And what I love most is the range that has come through the studio. I think a lot of it has to do with being in New York. A lot of it has to do with having done it for a while. And it's all word of mouth. One person tells the other. And my goal has always been twofold. Every project I take on have two goals. One is for the artist to want to come back another time, and the other is for the artist to want to tell their friends. And if that works out for you and you've done it long enough, pretty soon you've got, you know, a nice range of people coming in. And just about every kind of music you can imagine has come through the studio, and it's just a thrill, a blessing and a thrill.
So for the benefit of our viewers here, many of whom are learning, can you briefly give us the 3x5 explanation of what mastering is? I know you get that question a lot.
You get that question a lot, and you see a lot of answers, and the answers range from everything from a Hallmark, greeting card to a quote from The Art of War by Lao Tse, but I'll try to really simplify it. Mastering is what turns the mix into the record. And that's a short statement, and it can cover a lot of ground, clearly. The other mystery and irony of mastering is that sometimes that means doing very little to almost nothing. And sometimes it means doing a hell of a lot that you wouldn't think is even possible, and everything in between. So this is what makes the craft really intriguing and really interesting. And the beauty of the craft is that you can receive a work from an artist which is just about finished, and finish it further in some way such that when you give it back to the artist, their appreciation of their own work is renewed and refreshed. And they go, wow, I was having doubts. I've been working on this project for a year and I just couldn't tell anyone. I was like really not liking it, but I love it now. And that's really the gold standard, is you give the work back to the artist and they just love it more than they haven't, at any stage in the project. And, we've seen tears at mastering, hopefully for the right reason, but, but not always, in which case you just do it over and do it differently. But that hasn't happened very often or ever.
So what would be an example? That was great what you just said about some of them you do almost nothing to nothing, and then some of them you're very involved. So you basically take a final mix and then you put it through this process we call the mastering process. So what's an example of a mix that arrives to you that you do very little to, as compared to a mix that you received where you have to get the toolbox out and everything and go to town?
Well, another interesting challenge of mastering is that it's much more difficult to master a great mix than it is to master a good mix or a not so good mix. Because if the mix is meh, or even if it's a good mix, you can it's easy to find something that reads as, wow, that's better. But when a mix is truly great, then it's a whole different story, because you want to make sure you're not going sideways or backwards, which is fairly easy to do. You want to really make sure you're going forward, and that requires a very highly accurate, highly nuanced, resolved monitoring system. It also requires a very deep listening to what are the changes that you're affecting in this mix, and is it really bringing you closer to the performance and closer to the song or not? And mixes are very fragile. It doesn't take, they've been worked on for hours or months sometimes, and everything is sort of balanced and put in place. And if you change one little element, you change all the elements. So that is very difficult. In that case, you might not EQ it at all, or you might do the most minuscule EQ, let's say tenths of a dB. The trick we have nowadays is that everybody wants their master to be loud. And making something loud can cause damage, especially getting to the loudness level that we're at in the industry, which is louder than it's ever been in 80 years of audio, or even in 20 years of audio. So there's that. There's getting to the level without causing distortion, audible distortion or impact to the dynamic, or a reduction of the emotional communication of the singer. And I think I'm going in circles here, but it's all a matter of being able to listen and to have your instincts about you to know, leave that alone, or now we're going to really dig in.